Today's video is on the nature of growth. And although I can relate it to growth in nature, growth in the natural world, I'm really talking about personal growth or spiritual growth, which I think are related. Um, so, how do we grow, right? I mean, other than like from a baby physically. And as when we are young, right, we grow physically, we grow mentally, we grow emotionally over time. Um, as we learn things and as we experience things. Um, and as you may have experienced, and as I have experienced, some things that we uh, end up going through can feel like we've lost something, right? That maybe we had when we were younger, and part of our growth ends up being sort of trying to reclaim something that got lost through our experience. And um, it's my belief that we go through experiences like that um, in order to facilitate growth of our soul and our spirit. And um, so there's sort of that whole thing, right? Like just things that happen, they move your being as a whole forward in time, in the universe as a whole, and we're each a part of what's happening in the universe as a whole. So there's that, and some people, um, it's always difficult how to say this exactly, but I feel like some people decide to do specific things to grow or to look at, like try to see what's happening, and maybe in different times of your life, right? And then at other times, or some other people, like life just happens, things happen, and then they're forced to grow. And that's happened to me too at different times in my life where we're forced to grow. And even those of us who sort of feel like we're very consciously on our own personal and spiritual growth journey, um, we have our blind spots, right, too. So something will happen oftentimes to force us to look at something, to grow in an area that we have not been able to look at before. So how do we grow? Um, those are some things, like I said, like things happen. And I also believe that everything that happens to us is an opportunity. So whether it's good or bad, there's an opportunity there. There's some kind of gift in it, even if it's a tragedy. There's a tragic piece, or it's really messed up, right? I think these things are given to us to do something with and to help us grow. And it doesn't, it's like, and then, I think about a lot about shadow work, right? Like this place where we, maybe we keep repeating the same patterns. Let's take relationships as an example. Maybe you're always dating the same kind of person or with the same kind of person, and they're not the right person for you. And you're just sort of repeating these patterns. Well, my belief is that that's almost like an inherent thing in our being that keeps happening because we keep being offered the opportunity. Like it keeps happening because we want to change it. And so if it's not presented to us, then we won't have the opportunity to change it. And so I think that's one of the reasons that we do repeat patterns, right? Now, I also think that the patterns we carry are just that. They're patterned, and they sort of run in our subconscious until we become aware of them. And then when we become aware of them, it's just our responsibility to take care of it. But it's not our fault that things happen to us a particular way. Like, it's never, ever our fault. And when I say responsibility, it's more like we get to really be in charge of how we want our lives to be and create our lives the way we want them to be. And just finding awareness of things that we've not been aware before is so empowering, right? So I like to kind of hold out that even those patterns that keep repeating, they can be empowering in that they are opportunities. Yeah. They're opportunities to, change something. So I'll share one for me. One of my past patterns is that, and I don't think I've done it in more recent years, maybe a little bit, but one of my past patterns was being with somebody and kind of knowing in my gut, like, this isn't going to work out long term. They are not the person for me. And I stayed with them. And I think I stayed with them in part because I felt like I was working through something. It's all fine. Like, I always learn things from my relationships, good, bad, ugly. I get something out of them. I learn something about myself. I learn about the dynamics with somebody. That's me. I've always kind of like held that as something, no matter what the situation. But there was this pattern of me staying too long and kind of not cutting it off when, as soon as I knew, like, no, this isn't right and I want something more. So part of the pattern was not honoring what I truly desired, right? And trying to make something become, or hope that something could become, even though I knew in my gut that no, it really wasn't. And so I remember the first time that I really, like, this pattern had changed, because I was in a relationship with somebody. I think it'd been a year or so, maybe it was 2. I liked him a lot. We were getting along well. It was going well. But he was not opening up to me the way I wanted him to. And I had a conversation with him like, hey, I'd love to hear more about your life and kind of your relationship. Like, I'm not saying it exactly how I said it to him, but I basically relayed to him that was something that I needed and desired in a relationship, was just this, like, to go deeper, basically, right? And here's the thing, he knew exactly what I was saying, and he said as much to me. He said, I know what you're asking of me, and I am not willing to do that. Like, just straight up. And he just maybe wasn't ready then, but he wasn't ready. And instead of staying in the relationship and thinking, okay, but maybe it'll change and he'll be ready later, and he's just still, like, needs time to heal from other stuff in his past, like, right? I just cut it off. I was like, okay, then, it can't continue. And I broke up with him. And that felt so good for me. Like, that was just a huge, like, I was like, wow, that has shifted. That pattern has shifted. I'm not waiting anymore. So that's just one example. So one of the ways that I have really grown and accomplished growth in my life has been through sports, as well. And um, I played lots of sports, and when I started doing inline speed skating, then it was on. It was like challenge after challenge and continual. It's one of the reasons I love it so much, is that there's always some way to break another boundary for myself. Um, and so I, just did that so consistently for many years. And I decided, and I had to decide, and I had to commit to training and to being consistent and to doing things in order to, push myself towards, not just towards a goal, but push myself, maybe physically, but then that brings up all this emotional stuff. Trust me. Sometimes when we don't want to push ourselves physically, there is an emotional, mental, maybe even spiritual component in our subconscious, right? And I think a lot of you may know that and understand that already without me saying, trust me. Like, I know you know that one. So I think that's an amazing, beautiful way to facilitate growth for your being, and to get to a different, like, to transform who you are. And yeah, and then, like I said, there's just, so sometimes growth happens to us, right? Whether we like are going for something or not. And then other times we are doing things, setting up our lives in ways that facilitate change and growth, and kind of pushing the boundaries. And that might mean pushing the boundaries of your patterns, right? Like setting up your life so that it's a contradiction to those patterns, right? Yeah, that's a great way to say it, is setting up your life so that there's these obvious ways that are in opposition to the patterns that you carry, and it helps get through them and break them a lot more quickly. So I think I've stayed on topic. I believe I have. I feel like there's so much I could say about growth and how we grow. And as always, I want to hear how that experience has been for you. Like, what has been your personal growth experience, and what are some of the ways that you facilitate that for yourself? I'm just like all these, like, people go back to school, people try a sport, they try something they haven't tried before, they might try a little 5K run, they might try going for a new job, whether it's in their field or just switching completely, doing something that really makes them happy but is a little scary. There we go. Last thing. Yes, growth often includes fear and facing your fears and being supported to move through them, and sometimes feeling them, and always feeling them in growth. But fear is another one. And then, when we decide to face our fears, there's such huge growth potential there, like huge. So I also know some of you watching this video who I know personally have done that in your lives as much as I have. And it's so rewarding. It's so rewarding. So that's it. How do we grow? Take that into your week. Maybe think about, like I said, I'd love to hear the ways that you have gone towards personal growth in your life, and then maybe just take into your week how you're going to keep facilitating that, or is there something that you have been holding back on, and is there anything that you feel like you recognize as a pattern that you would really like to break through and not have that be a pattern anymore that runs things? Yeah, please, 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 please feel free to comment and share. And you can do that in public comments, or you can do it personally to me. I love hearing anything from all of you. And that is it. I send you peace and love for your day and for your week, and I will see you next time.